Hey everyone, and welcome back. We usually go deep on like the techie stuff, but today we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to dive into something a little different and explore a heartbeat.
To a heartbeat.
Yeah. So this is a collection of stories all about human connection. And, it's pretty fascinating how in a world that's like, increasingly digital, these stories kind of remind us of the importance of real world bonds, right?
Yeah. What strikes me is how these stories highlight the universality of human experiences, compassion, generosity, resilience. These qualities transcend borders and cultures. It's really quite fascinating.
Sure. Those are things that really tie us all together. And so let's start with a story that really resonated with me. It's about this global chain of meals. Basically, people all over the world are cooking and sharing meals with refugees. Such a simple idea, but the impact is profound.
Yeah.
One participant said, cooking for someone is like giving them a hug with your heart. Isn't that amazing?
That's such a beautiful way to put it. I mean, food becomes like this powerful symbol of welcome and care, a way to communicate acceptance and support, when words might not be enough. It reminds us that we can bridge cultural divides through something as basic as sharing a meal. Like, how cool is that?
Makes you think. Right. Have you ever like sat down and had a meal with someone from a completely different background
Yeah.
and felt that connection? I mean, it's incredible how something so simple can create such a strong sense of community.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the concept of commensality.
Commensality.
Yeah, the act of eating together. It's a social ritual that has been bringing people together for centuries.
Wow. I never even thought about that. It seems like such a basic thing, but you're right. There's like this whole deeper social significance to it.
Mm.
Okay. Let's shift gears to another story that really touched me. It's about a music teacher in rural India. He teaches children for free, asking only that they pass on their musical knowledge to others.
That's incredible.
I know, right? What's really inspiring here is how he's using music as a tool for empowerment. He's not just teaching notes and rhythms. He's fostering a sense of community, creating a legacy of learning, and it really highlights the transformative power of education, even in the absence of traditional resources.
I love that. It's like he's planting these seeds of knowledge that will continue to grow and spread throughout the community. And it makes me think about the different ways we can all contribute to the well-being of others. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture, right? Even small acts of sharing and teaching can make a difference.
Absolutely. And speaking of small acts making a difference, let's talk about the Garden of Hope in Detroit. Volunteers transformed a vacant lot into a thriving community garden. And it's not just about providing food, but it also gives them a space to connect.
I love that story. This one really resonated with me because it shows how communities can come together to create something beautiful and meaningful from something that was once neglected. It's fascinating about this story, how it challenges us to reconsider the concept of resilience. We often think of resilience as an individual trait,
Right.
but this garden demonstrates the power of collective resilience. It's about a community coming together to reclaim a space, nurture life, and support each other.
So true. And it makes you think, how can we apply this concept of collective resilience to other challenges we face? How can we work together to create positive change in our own communities? It's really powerful stuff.
Right. Really powerful. And while we're on the topic of community and connection, let's delve into a story that explores the intersection of technology and social isolation.
Ooh.
Tech for Loneliness. It's an initiative that uses AI to connect elderly people with virtual companions and organize real-life meetups.
This one really caught my eye because it tackles a growing issue in our digital age. Loneliness, especially among seniors. It's amazing how technology can be used to bridge these gaps and foster a sense of belonging. But also makes you think about the potential drawbacks. Could this kind of technology create a dependence on virtual interaction rather than encouraging real-world connections?
That's a crucial point to consider. I mean, while the initiative's aim is commendable, it's important to examine the long-term implications. Could we inadvertently create a society where human connection becomes increasingly mediated through technology? This story raises some really important ethical questions about the role of AI in our lives.
It definitely gives us a lot to think about. Now, before we move on to the next set of stories, I want to shift our focus to the story about overcoming adversity and giving back.
You're talking about from refugee to teacher, right? It's an incredible journey of resilience.
Exactly. This Syrian refugee, who now teaches English in Germany, turned his own experience of displacement into an opportunity to empower others. And it's a powerful reminder that even in the face of hardship, we can find ways to heal, connect, and contribute to creating a better world.
I mean, his story is a testament to the human spirit's ability to find hope and purpose, even in the darkest of times. And his classroom, it becomes like a microcosm of intercultural understanding where students from diverse backgrounds can learn from each other and build bridges of empathy.
It's amazing how education can serve as such a powerful tool for integration and fostering a sense of belonging. Okay, let's lighten the mood a bit with a story that celebrates the joy of spontaneous human connection. Remember that viral video of the spontaneous street concert in Paris?
Oh, absolutely. That video was pure magic. It's amazing how music can instantly transform a public space into a shared experience of joy and unity.
Right. Complete strangers from all walks of life coming together to sing, dance, and celebrate the simple beauty of music. It's a reminder that those unexpected moments of connection can be some of the most powerful and uplifting experiences in life. And it makes you wonder, what other ways can we create these kinds of spontaneous connections in our own communities?
That's a wonderful question to ponder. And speaking of pondering, I think it's time for us to take a short break and reflect on what we've learned so far. These stories have certainly given us a lot to think about.
They certainly have. We'll be back in just a moment to dive into more heartwarming stories from Oh Heartbeat.
Welcome back to our exploration of Oh Heartbeat. It's amazing how these stories, they remind us that amidst the complexities of life, human connection remains a powerful force.
Yeah, it's so true. Each story kind of reveals a different facet of this connection, from the sharing of food to the spontaneous joy of music. Speaking of powerful forces, our next story highlights the incredible strength of human compassion in the face of danger.
You're talking about the heroic rescue in Sydney, right? That story truly captured the world's attention.
Yes. Imagine this. A group of complete strangers on a beach in Sydney formed a human chain to rescue a man who was caught in a rip current. Talk about courage.
It's a remarkable example of what psychologists call bystander intervention. Often people hesitate to act in emergencies because they assume someone else will take charge. But in this case, individual action sparked collective action, like creating this ripple effect of heroism.
Yeah, it's almost like their instinctive compassion just overrode any fear or hesitation.
Right.
Collective action is a powerful testament to the potential for good that exists within each of us. I mean, it makes you think, what would you do in a similar situation? Would you jump in? Would you freeze?
It's a question worth pondering. And while we're reflecting on individual acts of compassion, our next story takes us to Tokyo, where an elderly woman is quietly making a difference with her blanket of love.
Oh, yes, this story. So heartwarming. This woman, she knits blankets for homeless people and attaches a handwritten note of encouragement to each one.
Oh, it's a beautiful example of how even small acts of kindness can have this ripple effect. She's not just providing warmth. She's offering this tangible expression of care and a reminder that someone sees them, values them.
It's those small gestures of human connection that can often make the biggest difference in someone's life. Speaking of making a difference, our next story highlights the transformative power of art in marginalized communities.
You're talking about the young artist in Brazil who's bringing color and vibrancy to the favelas with his murals.
Exactly. He's not just painting walls.
Yeah.
He's using art as a tool for social change, community empowerment, and cultural expression.
What's really interesting is how he involves local children in the process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a brilliant way to foster creativity, build a sense of ownership and inspire a generation of young artists. It challenges the traditional notion of art as something that's confined to galleries and museums.
Absolutely. It's about bringing art to the streets, making it accessible, and using it to create a shared sense of identity and pride. And speaking of shared experiences, let's talk about the charity run in New York.
Oh, yes. A heartwarming story of competition transformed into collaboration.
Exactly.
It's fascinating how a shared goal, in this case, supporting a worthy cause, can shift the focus from individual achievement to collective support.
Yeah, it's amazing how, in that context, helping a fellow runner cross the finish line becomes more important than reaching it first. It really speaks volumes about the human capacity for empathy and our innate desire to support one another.
It reminds us that even in competitive environments, there's room for compassion and collaboration. And now for our final story in this segment, let's return to the theme of music's ability to unite. Remember that incredible spontaneous street concert in Paris?
Of course, that video went viral for a reason. It's pure joy, captured in a few minutes of spontaneous human connection.
What strikes me is how it challenges our assumptions about urban life. We often think of cities as places of anonymity and isolation. But this story reminds us that even amidst the hustle and bustle moments of shared humanity, can emerge in the most unexpected ways.
It's like music becomes this universal language that transcends all barriers, creating a sense of community in an instant.
Mm.
And speaking of creating community, I think it's time for us to take a short break to gather our thoughts. We'll be back in just a moment to wrap up our deep dive into Ooh Heartbeat and discuss what these stories teach us about the power of human connection. Welcome back to the deep dive. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling incredibly inspired after exploring all these heartwarming stories from Ooh Heartbeat. It's really amazing how a simple act of kindness can create like this ripple effect.
It really has been like a fascinating journey, hasn't it?
Yeah,
All these stories really remind us that even in a world that often feels divided, there's this powerful undercurrent of compassion and interconnectedness.
totally. So as we wrap up our deep dive, I'm curious to hear what you thought. What struck you the most about these stories? What insights or takeaways really resonated with you?
Hmm. I think what struck me the most is the reminder that human connection isn't just this feel-good concept. It's a fundamental human need. We're wired for connection. And these stories highlight how fulfilling that need can manifest in countless ways.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not just about grand gestures or heroic acts. It's about those everyday moments of kindness and empathy and shared experiences. It's those things that weave the fabric of our communities.
Exactly. And I think these stories also kind of challenge us to rethink our roles in creating a more connected world. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the negativity we see in the news, but these stories remind us that we all have the power to make a difference, even in small ways.
Yeah, it's like that Margaret Mead quote. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Beautifully put. Each of these stories exemplifies that sentiment. Whether it's sharing a meal with a stranger, or offering a kind word, or simply listening with an open heart, we can all contribute to creating a more compassionate and interconnected world.
So true. And as we end our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. What small act of kindness, generosity, or connection will you bring into the world today?
Yeah, remember every act of connection, no matter how small, has the potential to create that ripple effect of positivity. Let's all strive to be the heartbeats in our own communities.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this heartwarming journey. And remember, keep seeking out those stories that remind us of the power of human connection. We'll see you next time.